So very warm welcome to all our viewers and welcome to a new edition of Africa Today, and of course a very happy Eid al-Adha to all our viewers and all Egyptians and Muslims around the world. Of course, today we have a lot in store for you all about Eid al-Adha, and we begin straight away where Muslims around the world celebrate Eid al-Adha, also called the Festival of the Sacrifice, which is the second of the two Islamic feasts. We have more details in this report and we'll be right back. Do stay tuned. Eid al-Adha Feast of the Sacrifice, also called the Festival of the Sacrifice, is the second of two Islamic holidays celebrated worldwide each year. It considered the holier of the two. It honors the willingness of Abraham to sacrifice his son as an act of obedience command. But before Abraham could sacrifice his son, God provided a lamb to sacrifice instead. In commemoration of this intervention, an animal is sacrificed and divided into three parts. One share is given to the poor and needy, another is kept for the house, and the third is given to relatives. Eid al-Adha falls on the 10th day of Zulhijjah and lasts for 3 days. Devotees offer the Eid al-Adha prayers at the mosque. The prayers are performed any time after the sun completely rises up to just before entering of Zuhr time on the 10th of Zulhijjah. At the conclusion of the prayers and sermon, Muslims embrace and exchange greetings with one another. They give gifts and visit one another. Many Muslims also take this opportunity to invite their non-Muslim friends, neighbors, co-workers and classmates to their Eid festivities to better acquaint them about Islam and Muslim culture. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm delighted to be joined over the telephone by His Excellency Ambassador Mohammed Higazi, former assistant to the Foreign Minister. It's a very good afternoon to you, Mr. Ambassador.
Good afternoon to you, madam.
Of course, Mr. Ambassador, today we're discussing Eid al-Adha, and let's start, in your opinion, of course you've served in Africa. Talk to me a bit, Mr. Ambassador, about how different African countries celebrate Eid al-Adha.
More or less the Grand Bayram has the same festivity all over the continent.
Yes.
It's a Muslim community that take care of the festive activities, being it social or cultural. So it starts always with the prayer, and of course the slaughtering and the meat distribution is part of the festive. And it is a family festivity. Everybody invites his close kin, and all of them gather in a certain family reunion. That is after, of course, the morning prayer that always lead to some cultural program and cultural exchange. And after that, maybe a short meal between the families, leading to the most important part of the event that happens always in the evening, where some cultural troops can participate. But early morning, it is same like in Egypt or in any Islamic community all over the continent. It starts with the prayer and then a social gathering, and then maybe a short breakfast, and that leads to either a cultural program in centers or a family reunion where everybody meets his close kin. And of course, during this festive meat distribution after slaughtering the sheep, and I think it's all more or less the same kind of the Islamic ritual that is gathering all Muslims in Africa or elsewhere together.
Mr. Ambassador, how different are the feast celebrations in North Africa from other countries further south?
You know, maybe in Egypt we go to the families.
Yes.
In Africa you do the festivity either with your family or with your larger community or with your tribe. So it is about reunion. It is about distribution of wealth or the meat distribution, or having a meal together, or having a cultural event together. So togetherness and collectiveness is the key of all this festivity, is the base of all these festivities. There is nothing really that is not happening here in Egypt. We meet in a family, we meet in the larger family, we distribute kind of wealth. All who is needy find in those kind of gatherings the social comfort needed. And the message is the same all over. As I said, this is a Muslim community that is united in their rituals. There is nothing really out of the book. It's all the same. We all distribute the same food. We slaughter and hand over to the poor. So it's about compassion. It is about social welfare. It is about the mercy that is coming. It is not about a festivity for itself. It is a festivity that brings people together, that bring culture exchange, and at the same time it gives to the poor an opening to have a same food, and it enables them to confront, at least during the festive days, the hardships they are facing. And it opens up gates also to some family reunion, exchange of ideas, views in those gatherings. But as I said, it is about collectiveness. It's about ritual that leads to more social understanding and economic welfare, maybe to some needy or poor families. And at the same time, it opens the gates to more meetings and family reunions and tribal contacts. At the same time, it helps in pacifying the society through the culture, social closeness that is created during the Eid time.
Indeed. Mr. Ambassador, an interesting observation, whether it's in Egypt or in other African countries or in other Muslim countries around the world, they all have the tradition of giving children maybe sums of money or presents or sweets on Eid. How do you see the similarities, even though the cultures could be very different?
Yeah, no, it is the same. Children and families find really themselves in this kind of festivity. It is the time where you express yourself towards all your family members, the poor in the society, the children in the community, the women as well. So it is a kind, when we say festivity, that you celebrate everything. You celebrate your support to the poor. You celebrate your family member, your tribes, your children. So it is truly a meaningful event that carries many aspects, being it social, culture, and it brings people more closer.
Yes. Mr. Ambassador, how about, how do you think religious occasions like this Eid, for example, boost social ties even amongst non-Muslims? So for example, lots of non-Muslims also celebrate Eid, they share in the festivities, they meet with their Muslim friends, etc. How does this create a more of a social networking between people?
Well, religious festivity are so important. We Muslims celebrate also Christmas, and we participate in many events related to Christian events, particularly in Egypt, like Sham al-Nasim or the what we call it the spring holidays. We all in the Easter in the streets enjoying a Christian festivity. Same, I mean, religious affinity in Egypt is very well known. Same in Africa. A poor doesn't have to be Christian or a Muslim. A poor needs whoever who can support, being it a Christian festivity to support the poor, or a Muslim festivity that is supporting the poor. So it is about social affinity. It is about welfare. It's about social solidarity. And I'm sure that religious holidays in any side is very important, as it allows the poor community to benefit, as it brings people together. It pacifies the spirit of the society. Because all religions are calling for the same message, the message of tolerance and peace.
Yes.
So whenever we are close to our religion, no matter what is your religion, you are close to peace, you are close to understanding the others, you are close to the poor, you are compassionate towards your family, you are compassionate towards your children. So whatever is said about religious holidays, it belongs to us all as human beings.
Indeed, and this Eid is also very special because it also is the time for Hajj, and thousands of Egyptians go to perform the ritual of pilgrimage or Hajj in Saudi Arabia. The importance of this, Mr. Ambassador.
Well, this is the essence of the festivity. It
Yes.
is not about food, and it's not about gifts, though important maybe as rituals, and if it happens as a custom in all society and tradition. But performing Hajj or pilgrimage is the key message. It is where all, if your question was what is different in Africa than in Egypt, we all united in Mecca. We all doing the same ritual. We all reading the same Quran. And we are all worshipping God. But we are worshipping God in Mecca. You can worship God in Vatican. God wherever you like, as long as you are worshipping God, you are on the right track. You are less radical, you are far away from extremism, because it pacifies your soul, and your soul will be cleaner and cleansed from sins and burdens of life if you are a religious man, if you are performing your duties, no matter what religion you are following, as long as you are close to God, you are close to reality, and you are close to yourself.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. Mr. Ambassador, what do you think is the most effective factor that influences ties between different countries? Do you think it's religion or ethnicity, or maybe similarities when it comes to language and mother tongue, or is it a combination, in your opinion?
Well, I mean, all what you have stated are unifying factors.
Mm-hmm.
The most important is to use those factors to bring the society up, to achieve the goals of your country. Religion can be a very important medium to bring more determinations towards progress. Language is a very important unifying factor to bring society together. So those are the tools that a society is using to perform, that a society is using to excel, and I'm sure they are all very important factors for bringing in a cohesion society, a society that is based in morality, and I'm sure that Egypt is one of those countries that is using religion, language, and ethnicity to bring our people all together.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Ambassador, how do you see such religious occasions an opportunity for peace, even in war strife countries? It is an opportunity to spread the message of peace, to have ceasefires in countries that are currently at warring sides. How can Eid be used to calm the situation in conflict-ridden countries, in your opinion?
The message of the people being together, either in Mecca or in their morning prayers in their respective countries, or in their activities distributing they have, or any kind of wealth, even through the slaughtering of meat from it's all symbolic. It is from the rich to the poor, being it money, being it meat, being it whatever goods you want to hand over to the other. The closeness of you to the poor segments of your society is in itself a very civilized act of social behavior. And if you take this further to other countries in need, if you are taking this to the world community, so you are part of the true humanity, a humanity that is based on truth, on unification, not a society that is based in rivalry and fight. So religion is made to pacify the people and the society and the world community. Imagine that if we are all following the same message of tolerance and peace, I think the world community will live in a better situation than what we are seeing now. Those who have killed our children day before yesterday in the medical institute nearby the Maniel. What message this is carried? Those are terrorists. Those are people who are far from their religion, because their religion is not definitely saying that. So those are elements that is imposed on the society and in its culture and on its religion. So let us be very clear, very focused, that those kind of festivities are very important to bring again the message of togetherness, to bring again the message of tolerance to the front stage, not the message of killing and destruction that we have witnessed in Egypt day before yesterday.
Do you think, Mr. Ambassador, that modernization and the different times that we are in, families have become smaller? For example, sometimes Eid has evolved in just going on a trip with your close family, not meeting your extended family and your grandparents and your uncles like it used to be before. Do you think that the times have changed, or do you think we're still holding on to our Egyptian traditions?
No, time has changed. I agree with you. But Eid and those kind of festivities are an opportunity to bring all those elements of the community together, to bring your family members together, even your children closer to you. Because, the day's activities, the new communication, the new tools, the medium that is used in communicating the electronic and cyber life has controlled our attitude, where physically we don't play sports. We play it by fingers, and we watch TV, and we watch our iPad all the time. We are linked virtually. So time and festivities is to link physically, to come closer to a meal, to talk to each other, face to face, being it with your close parents or your children or your community members, because you are in touch with them in your prayers, you are in touch with them in your meals, your sisters, your brothers at your place, or you are at their place. This family reunion is missed. We call each other, we communicate with each other electronically, but we are far away from seeing each other physically. So festivity, once again, is important in bringing the community members together, the family members together, your close family being your children even together, whom they study hard outside, and when they come home, they are standing all the time or sitting all the time in front of their machines, being it the TV or the iPad or whatever, or their mobiles. So I think festivity is part of the social network that we hope to promote, not only through electronics and through direct communication. If you are close to your religion, you will be much more in your mosque, you will be much more in the religious activities. So you are in your church or in your mosque in contact with people, not virtually, but in direct human contact.
Which is very important. Mr. Ambassador, Ambassador Mohammed Higazi, one final message you would give our viewers on the occasion of Eid al-Adha. Mr. Ambassador, can you hear us? Ambassador Mohammed?
And bring in cultural affinity and social welfare to the poor and come closer to your religion.
Right. I'd like to thank you very much, Ambassador Mohammed Higazi, the former assistant to the Foreign Minister. Thank you so much for joining us, and of course, a very happy Eid to you and your family. And to wrap up today's edition of Africa Today, another report on Eid. Africans around the world celebrate Eid al-Adha, which of course is an Islamic festival to commemorate the willingness of Abraham to follow God's command to sacrifice his son. They have more details in this report. And with that, we wrap up today's edition of Africa Today. Many thanks for watching. Africa is home to over 5 million people who follow the Islamic faith, with the Middle East and North Africa, MENA region, having the highest concentration of Muslims worldwide. The majority of the continent's Muslims live in the North, West and East Africa, with over 90% of the population in Algeria, Libya, Mauritania, Egypt, Djibouti, Gambia, Senegal, Morocco, Niger, Sudan, Somalia and Tunisia. Over 70% of the Nigerian population is Muslim, and in Ethiopia, Kenya and South Africa, Muslims account for 50%, 33% and 3% of the population respectively. Eid begins early in the morning with prayer and a sermon at mosque, followed by celebrations with family. Preparations for Eid begin early in the morning, with the father of the household slaughtering a sheep as per Islamic custom, and women of the household preparing food the night before. Eid celebrations across South Africa vary from family to family and from city to city. Usually when Eid commences, men go to mosque for prayer, and afterwards the family gathers for breakfast. Socializing and gift-giving to children commences after breakfast, and everyone is dressed in new clothes as part of the celebrations.